Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. Today's another AMA episode, that is, Ask Me Anything. I love to answer your questions, and if you have a question you think is going to be of broad interest, send it in. I'll answer it live on the air. Send your questions to victor@victorjm.com. That's victor@victorjm.com. This question comes from Joseph. He says, "Hey Victor, looking for another perspective. I have a new tenant in a single-family home, and I'm covering the lawn care. The tenant claims that the hubcap on their car was broken by the gardener. Pictures of the location of the vehicle and possibilities leave this situation extremely unlikely. The gardener tried to reason with the tenant, and they're demanding that he replace the hubcap. The cost of a new hubcap on eBay is around $60 with shipping. I'm cautious about honoring something that seems very unlikely and opening up other situations. But looking at it from the tenant's perspective, if they truly believe this happened, making good on that $60 could go a long way. I was considering crediting the money to the gardener and letting him pay the amount as the good cop, then allowing me to handle any more issues down the road, if any, taking the previous concerns into consideration. What are your thoughts?" Well, Joseph, this is a great question. It falls into the category of how to handle a request from a tenant. This is encountered often in the world of property management, but the very name property management is a misnomer in my opinion. Well, property is an inanimate object and therefore can't be managed. What you do influence is the tenant relationship. I personally favor the approach you suggested in your question. By having the landscaping contractor pay for the damage, you're staying out of the dangerous waters of reimbursing the tenant for damage, even if you fund the landscaping contractor for the reimbursement. At the same time that you tell the tenant you've contacted the landscaping contractor about the damage, take the opportunity to ask if everything else is in working order at the property. That changes the posture from reactive landlord to proactive landlord. In that same conversation, let them know that you'll be sending someone to change the air filters. See, when tenants feel like they're getting ripped off by their landlord, they will often find hidden ways to get even with you. They may create artificial maintenance problems to see if you're responding to their complaints. But if you're proactive and you demonstrate that you are proactive, it has a tendency to change the dynamic. If you care about your property and you want to demonstrate to the tenant that you've got high standards for the maintenance of your property, you also apply those same standards to the tenant's property and you expect the tenant to reciprocate. People often adapt their behavior to the environment in which they find themselves. The same individual might never consider throwing a wrapper on the floor in the lobby of a luxury hotel, but they would throw a wrapper in a back alley that already has litter on the ground. So by setting the right standards, by setting the right expectations, you can also drive behavior. There's both an art and a science to property management. Successful property managers know that forging genuine connections with their clients is crucial. Get to know your residents personally. Take the time to engage the people living in your properties you manage. You'll be surprised at what you get from a very quick chat. The hubcap could be viewed as a problem to solve, or instead as an opportunity to connect with your clients. All property managers want to have good relationships with their tenant. So to ensure this, you've got to establish boundaries with your tenants, and it sounds like you're trying to do that. Being too strict can create tension, and being too casual might open you up to ambiguity and misinterpretation. It's a little bit like the three bears. Not too hot, not too cold. You want it just right. You also want to make sure that your response time to your tenant is timely. People in the insurance industry know that the longer time passes between a claim and settlement, the larger the claim ends up being. When a complaint goes unanswered without a response, there's a tendency to amplify the situation in order to get attention. I'm only describing human nature. If people are ignored, they will sometimes up the ante. You see this in the grocery store when a child needs to get a parent's attention. Sometimes they can only get it by yelling. This is a learned behavior, and if the landlord responds in a timely manner, there's no reason to artificially raise the volume. I think you're on the right track with your thinking, and you're a role model for what a good property manager looks like. I want to thank you, Joseph, for an awesome question, and for the listeners at home, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.